This video is going over the top 10 rock songs on Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart, ending with the week of February 24th, 2018. Welcome to Billboard Gets Rocked. I got 7 out of my 10 predictions correct from last month. There's a new number 1 this time, and there's actually been a lot of changes for some new good songs here on the list. So, enough with the preamble, you know how this goes. Let's jump into the top 10.
Number 10, Rose Red Violet Blue, This Song Is Dumb and So Am I by Stone Sour. As for a new breath of fresh air and a song that has been on the Mainstream Rock Chart for quite a while but just now finally cracking the top 10, Stone Sour gives us another song from Hydrograd, which proves to be an album that keeps on delivering to this chart. I openly admit this is not even my favorite song off of Hydrograd by a long shot, but I'm still more than happy to see it in the top 10 and getting consistent airplay for quite a while now. As the song itself, it gets better as it goes on. The slow build with Taylor's voice and the guitar riffs from Rand and Touche all really add to the sound in that second half. It's a track that grows on you, along with a song title that still makes me laugh. Now after 21 weeks of being on the Mainstream Rock Chart and sitting comfy at number 10 for a couple weeks, it's nice to see a band without a gimmick and a band who doesn't want to write the same song repeatedly get a spot in the top 10. That gets to the prediction though. Do I think it'll be in the top 10 next month?
Probably not. Just looking at how long it's been on the chart and how long it took to break the top 10, it's probably going to fall off the top 10 by this time at the end of next month. But I'm willing to bet we will see another song from Hydrograd on the top 10 of this list. So more Stone Sour for everyone. That's so much better than more Theory of a Dead Man. By the way, Medicaid is no longer on the top 10. Isn't that great?
Number 9, The Mountain by 3 Days Grace. Of all the mainstream rock bands that grace Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart, 3 Days Grace are arguably the most successful in recent memory. The amount of number 1 songs the band has is crazy. The Mountain is the song being used to promote their new album Outsider, and that's a phrase you'll be hearing a few more times this video, as several big-name bands on this list have albums coming out in the near future. The Mountain has only been on this chart for 4 weeks and already jumped up to the number 9 spot. That alone should tell you how much radio relies on these Canadians. It'll help sell the album though, as I think the song is better than many songs 3 Days Grace has been putting out now for quite a while. Lyrically, it is a bit of the same material in terms of meaning and being a loner trying to push through a tough time, but The Mountain has a better flow of it instrumentally. The bridge isn't a long wailing chorus, but actually gets a bit melodic. I admit I don't love it, but I also admit my bias, because as far as 3 Days Grace songs go, this is fine. It'll be anchored on the top 10 for a while.
Hopefully, however, not number 1. I mean, I know that 3 Days Grace really just always gets those number 1 songs, but I feel like there are so many other better tracks from both new and old bands that deserve more airplay right now than The Mountain. And that's not really to say I think it's a terrible song, I don't. There's just better stuff out there, even from 3 Days Grace. And with their new album coming out, maybe we'll hear it. But then again, I would not be surprised if it goes number 1 eventually, because that's just what 3 Days Grace does.
Number 8, Red Cold River by Breaking Benjamin. Breaking Benjamin is back with a new album coming in April and the song Red Cold River that has been getting a ton of airplay, even though it feels like it took a while to break the top 10. Breaking Benjamin is another band that mainstream rock radio loves, and I'm fine with that. Even if there aren't many Breaking Benjamin songs that sound fairly similar, it's the hidden gems on their albums that make them worth checking out. As for the singles, Red Cold River follows suit for the song style that made them famous. The song has a hard edge at the right moments, especially with Burnley's growl when shouting the song title. It's a track that gets better in the second half, as many Breaking Benjamin songs do, a great example of that being the song Failure from a few years ago. Red Cold River definitely does have other similarities to past Breaking Benjamin songs like I talked about previously, but it still works. There is just enough variance in guitar work and with the added volume and the vocals on this one that this song will make all those Breaking Benjamin fans happy.
Breaking Benjamin has an enormous fan base, and even though I'm not a fanatic like them, I still really enjoy Breaking Benjamin. And I'm willing to bet that this song will be on the top 10 next month, and also we'll be hearing a lot more from Ember in the next following few months, because when that album drops, it's probably going to get a lot more airplay than everyone's expecting. Breaking Benjamin just kind of floods the airwaves when they have new stuff come up.
Number 7, Novocaine by 10 Years. Of all the predictions I'm making on Billboard Gets Rocked, it's 10 years that I'm consistently wrong on. I need to stop. 10 years talk about becoming numb and desensitized becoming an adult has now been in the top 10 for months, and even with many songs changing around it, the Novocaine still hasn't worn off. The more I listen to this song, the more I've come to appreciate the drumming and opening rhythm. It gets in your head quick and sets the tonal tone of a song that is meant to be taken a bit on a down mood. The song has a grit to it in the verses. Now that the song's been on the chart for 25 weeks and many of those weeks in the top 10, it feels like a lot of radio stations and other networks have no issue continuing to have 10 years on the air.
I have no idea anymore on what prediction to make for Novocaine. Every time I talk about 10 years, I end up being wrong. So, yes, it will be on the top 10 next month.
Number 6, Meadow by Stone Temple Pilots. Meadow is a long time coming for the fans of Stone Temple Pilots music and their almost impossible wish of the band making new music again. Now with the new singer and former X Factor star Jeff Gutt, Stone Temple Pilots have their best chance in a long time to make the huge comeback that they are more than capable of making when you factor in the talent involved. When I first heard Meadow a few months ago, I thought that Gutt's voice with that grunge style fit perfectly. The chorus really does remind me of some of the early 90s style that original Stone Temple Pilots songs had, but maybe a bit less rough and angry. Most people will obviously be comparing Gutt to Scott Weiland, but that's a debate that will go on forever. I think Jeff Gutt works well in this song and it meshes with the track. I, for one, am excited to hear what Stone Temple Pilots bring in the new album, as it'll be their first in quite a while. The DeLeo brothers and Eric Kretz have been steering the STP ship for some time now, and I think this album could help with a big resurgence if it all pans out. Meadow, at the very least, helped pique interest.
As for staying in the top 10, I feel like Meadow may not stay on by this time next month. We already have another Stone Temple Pilots single coming up, so I feel like Meadow's peaked and it may fall off. But then again, I've been wrong about 10 years for months now, so what do I know?
Number 5, Spit Out the Bone by Metallica. On a happy note, I can say that Spit Out the Bone has jumped up a few spots on the top 10 from last month, and that is a great thing because Metallica's standout track from Hardwired to Self-Destruct needs more attention. Whoever says the old-timers and bands who don't follow the radio format can't make it on mainstream in 2018 should get slapped in the face by Lars Ulrich. With the news of a new Metallica tour coming this year, I definitely see Spit Out the Bone sticking around for another month in the top 10, and I really hope I'm right about that. This is the type of thrash that can not only rekindle longtime metal and rock fans into listening to active new music, but also get new listeners into something heavier, and introduce the young ones to air guitar while listening.
Spit Out the Bone is a song I get excited every time I hear it on SiriusXM, and along with staying on this chart for next month, which I predicted will, I am determined to see Metallica live on this 2018-2019 tour and shoot them live, because I really want to be a photographer for that. You know, even just for one show in the middle of nowhere, I'll do it. And if you have the chance, you really need to go. Even if you're not a huge Metallica fan, it's a spectacle.
Number 4, I Only Lie When I Love You by Royal Blood. Now finally started to descend from the top of the chart after a long rise is Royal Blood's I Only Lie When I Love You. It had an amazing run at 19 weeks on the chart, and most of them being in the top 10, being at the number 1 spot, and this also following a different number 1 song from the same album, How Did We Get So Dark. It's hard to even get number 1, let alone get that many accolades in a short time. It's hard to say if we'll see another song from this album by Royal Blood, but even if we don't, I'm willing to bet that we eventually will see more Royal Blood in the future on this chart. They aren't going away. That being said, looking at other songs that fell from the top 10 last month to now, I have a feeling in the end of March we will not see I Only Lie When I Love You in the top 10.
That's probably my boldest prediction yet, but with how many songs are coming up on the top 10 and just how many weeks the song has been on the mainstream rock chart, I feel like its time on this list has come to an end, or at least in the top 10.
Number 3, Waking Lions by Pop Evil. Holding steady from the same spot it was at a month ago is Waking Lions from Pop Evil. I said before this is the most standard typical radio rock you can think of, and it's proving true on this chart. When I talk about mainstream rock charts, I like to focus on songs that do well, songs I like, or trends that are confusing. With Waking Lions, it isn't bad by any means, but it definitely has started to get old. For being on the charts 16 weeks now and staying this high for several of those weeks, it's more than clear Pop Evil will be on the radio a while longer, especially with other upcoming songs from their latest self-titled album that will have songs on this top 10 as well. I feel that's what Pop Evil aimed for, and it's what they're talented at. I just want to hear more variety from them and to push themselves from this format they've been cruising at now for years.
My bias aside, the song isn't terrible by any means. The guitars really add a good rhythm to it, but oh my gosh, the chorus. It gets really repetitive really quickly, and I think I'm at wit's end now. But I gotta get used to it, and so should you, because this song's not going anywhere anytime soon. Definitely not off the top 10 of this list, and definitely not off radio.
Number 2, Born for Greatness by Papa Roach. Coming in at number 2 was a song I knew would do well despite it not really sounding like Papa Roach or anything else in today's current market. Born for Greatness has been on the chart for 15 weeks now with a good amount in the top 10, and it did reach number 1 in the past couple weeks since the last Billboard Gets Rocked video. I know Papa Roach is loved by radio, but I wasn't aware that Papa Roach could make any song and radio would spam it out.
When our name was, when our faceless, we were born for greatness. Somebody sound the alarm.
The more I hear the song, the more I feel it really doesn't exactly represent the band well. It's not a terrible track, but definitely doesn't remind me of almost anything the band has done that I've heard previously. Add that electronic breakdown at the chorus and you have a bit of a head scratcher.
I do think it'll be on the top 10 for sure next month, but I don't think it'll be charted as high. I think it'll fall down a few spots by this time at the end of March. That being said though, I am kind of surprised that radio will play anything with a Papa Roach brand on it. It's like they're another version of 3 Days Grace, or Nickelback. I'm sorry, Papa Roach, you are nowhere close to Nickelback and everyone knows it.
Number 1, Safari Song by Greta Van Fleet.
I told you so.
Last video I said this song had potential to go number 1 just because of the style and because of who the song was by. I like Safari Song, don't get me wrong, it deserves to be on the chart and stands out in a good way. But the fact that it comes off like debut EP from a young band and it's their second number 1 single in a row all just builds up more hype for Greta Van Fleet. Safari Song has been on the mainstream rock chart for a while, but it took some time to crack the top 10 because it technically got on the list while the band's first hit Highway Tune was still dominating. Safari Song definitely continues that trend of dominating as well as it's showing off the band and their talents. I'm confident this song will be on the top 10 next month, and I'd be shocked if it dropped down below the top 5. I can't stress enough that Greta Van Fleet is going to be a big band because of the new hype around them and the similarities they have to classic rock bands. It'll be interesting to see what Greta Van Fleet can make in a full album after this EP, but until then, this band is sitting at the top. And that was a look at the top 10 songs on Billboard's Mainstream Rock Chart from February 2018. What was your favorite song this month? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to the patrons who help support Rocked on Patreon. Please subscribe to this channel as it helps get noticed on YouTube.